So I know I'm late to the party, but for me, October's only the start of the spooky season. It goes all the way from October to the end of December for me. But anyway, I know I said in my last video that my next video would be on Hannibal, but it's taken quite a while to write the script for that and analyze the show to a point that I'm happy with. And I really want to get this show right because the show is just amazing. But anyway, today I want to talk about Halloween movies that I absolutely love and always watch through the spooky season. So without further ado, let's get into it. I would have to say, one of the OGs of science fiction horror, not Alien, but Event Horizon. Event Horizon is one of my favourite horror movies for a multitude of different reasons. It has a good use of practical effects when it does use them, but when it uses CGI, it can be quite dodgy. The story in and of itself is really good, plus I absolutely love Sam Neill's role in it and Lawrence Fishburne. They play amazing parts. The acting overall is pretty good, and the atmosphere is so well crafted. The whole gothic sci-fi vibe really fits well, I think, and it helps create like that sense of dread and like that the ship is alive along with them, because it feels almost as if the ship itself is as much a character as anyone else in the movie, which it's just well done. I absolutely love that about the movie. Yeah, not much to say about Event Horizon, but it's pretty good. I would definitely give it a watch. It's pretty creepy the first time you watch it. Next up, we have a slightly newer movie, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. It's just an amazing movie. I remember I went to see this movie in the cinema, and I absolutely loved every minute of it. It's got a really good story. It's got an amazing atmosphere. I absolutely love the atmosphere of, small town kids trying to solve a mystery or something like that. Not Scooby Doo, but yeah, it does have that like a Stranger Things vibe almost going for it, which I absolutely adore. That's Stranger Things is one of my favorite shows, and I think it really fits in well with the Halloween aspect of it as well, where they go and explore a haunted mansion. They discover a book that brings its story to life, and then they have to deal with so many monsters. The movie does use a lot of CGI, but when it does use its practical effects, they're also pretty good. I always remember the pale lady. I think there was a bit of CGI in that, but there was a lot of practical effects too, and it just looks so horrible, and I love it. The story itself is also quite good. It's quite basic. There's no insane plot twists or anything. You can kind of predict how the story played out, like how when you're watching it you can kind of predict what's going to happen next in the story. The foreshadowing in the story, while there is some, it's not very subtle, so again that kind of helps you to predict what's going to happen next in the story. But the story in and of itself is pretty good. I think it was supposed to be more of a monster movie than an incredibly intricate story, and I think it holds up in the aspect of being a monster movie very well. The acting is very good in the movie as well. I can't think of anyone that I thought was doing a bad job at acting. Plus, it's always nice to see Dean Norris again. The movie has some good scares too, and some pretty intense moments, which I really like. I think that's always a welcome, obviously, in horror movies, but this movie does them really well, definitely. So if you're looking for a Halloween movie to watch this year, definitely stick on Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. It's a good one. Next off, we have Annabelle Creation. I don't think I could go this entire list without listing one movie from the Conjuring universe. Annabelle Creation is probably my favourite of them all. The first movie I felt showed the demon not enough, and the third movie I felt showed it too much, to the point where it wasn't scary anymore. But the second movie shows it perfectly. It's just there at the right moments to make it very scary, without actually showing you it too much, and I absolutely love that about it. I think that they genuinely got it perfectly. The monster, or the demon, has an amazing design. It looks incredibly scary when you do see it, which isn't very often. I'll always remember that scene where she hides under the stairs and she sees the doll, and the demon has its hand on the doll's shoulder, and you don't see that at first, but when you notice it, it looks terrifying. The acting in Annabelle Creation as well is pretty good, and of course it's got really good scares and really intense moments. Yeah, I actually can't really recall anything they could do about this movie better. I genuinely think it's probably the best movie from the Conjuring universe, which is saying something as well, considering the three Conjuring movies are all pretty good as well. But yeah, that's about everything I have to say for Annabelle. On to the next. 28 Days Later. Need I say much more? The story is just amazing. It's the OG zombie movie where they can run. The characters are all really likable and relatable as well. None of them feel too apocalypse ready yet. They all feel just kind of scared and trying to survive. The movie tackles almost every aspect about the zombie apocalypse in a very short time. Compare it to The Walking Dead, where yeah, they did have more time to flesh it out, but 28 days later manages to show you how the survivors react to one another, friendly ones, hostile ones, living conditions, food, water, and of course the zombies, all within about 2.5 hours. It's very impressive how they've managed to fit so much into such a short amount of time. It's genuinely a really good movie, and the acting in it as well is of course phenomenal. Cillian Murphy, of course, does an amazing job as always. So yeah, if you're looking for a good zombie movie, definitely stick on 28 Days Later. It's probably the best zombie movie of all time. Next up, I'd say we have It Chapter 2. It's such a good follow-up from the first one. The ending to the movie is okay. It's better than the 1990s one, but it's not perfect. I would definitely recommend it though. It does have some good scares as well. I'd say actually, of all the movies I'm talking about today, It Chapter 2 probably has the best acting from the cast. Yeah, I'd probably say that. It's between this one and another one, but yeah, probably It Chapter 2 is definitely up there with one of the best acting performances on this list. There's so many good characters. And and as it's a follow-up from the first movie, it kind of keeps that vibe going of a similar vibe actually to Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, where it's like a small town with some evil in it and they're trying to stop it. Although this time they're adults, so it doesn't feel as spooky because at least they're adults now, but in the first one it does because, you know, they're kids and it's kind of showing you the whole movie through a kid's perspective, which is very intense because there's not much a kid can do against what is basically a god. But yeah, It Chapter 2 is pretty good. I would definitely recommend it, but don't watch it before you watch the first one. Go watch the first one first. Next up we have Smile. I think Smile is probably one of the best horror movies, or even movies, that came out of 2022. I think it was made by Blumhouse, and it does a perfect job of scares, honestly, and that's saying something. I really, really enjoyed it. The movie at the time was made for such a low budget, I can't remember what it was, but it was a really low budget and it had a really large return, which just made it even more impressive considering the fact that the effects in the movie were actually quite good. Although in true Blumhouse fashion, they didn't use the effects too often. They just kind of use acting most of the time, and occasionally they bring in special effects. And then towards the end, there is more CGI, and they do have some practical effects as well, which I think look really good. Honestly, they really remind me of John Carpenter's The Thing. And yeah, it's definitely a terrifying movie. It's kind of similar to It Follows, I suppose, but it's definitely scarier than that movie. I would recommend going to watch it if you actually want to be frightened at some point. Or maybe I'm just saying this and I'm a big pussy, I don't know. But to me it was pretty scary, and I watch a lot of horror movies, so I would think that I would know. But go watch it nonetheless. It's a good movie. It will definitely do you right if you're looking for something to scare you. But yeah, on to the next one. For the next one, I have to talk about this in the list. Like, it's basically a rule at this point. I have to talk about the original found footage movie. And yes, I know that there are some other ones before this, but this was the big one. This was the one that made it to the cinemas and basically announced what found footage was to the entire world. And that's the Blair Witch Project. The Blair Witch Project is quite a scary movie, I would say. I really like it, and I remember I was watching it, and yeah, it just spooked me out quite a bit, because the way that they set the whole movie up, even though they don't show you anything per se, it still really feels like there is something out there in the woods with them, because they show it in a way where the whole crew doesn't believe that anything exists out there. But as time goes on and more weird occurrences start happening, they start to slowly come to the realization that perhaps there actually is something out there with them. And that realization is just as haunting to the audience as it is to the characters. The start of the movie sets up the lore of the Blair Witch really nicely, and it shows you what the characters are trying to accomplish by making a documentary out there. And then as the movie progresses and weird things start happening, the characters start to change from like normal and calm to absolutely beyond scared, especially when one of them starts to go missing. The movie helps create tension without even showing the witch or any other monsters, because what it does, and I really applaud the movie for doing this, is it just shows simple things that it's already built up in the movie. So, for example, it will talk about at the beginning of the movie, they talk about like rock piles that the witch would leave around, and like hanging sticks in the shapes of humans and stuff. And then when they find that later in the movie, it's quite haunting because they've already set it up to be something that the witch does. And then when that later on in the tent, when something starts banging on the tent walls, that just looks terrifying, because you know there's now something out there, and they're hearing like kids laughing in the woods at night and people running around outside their tent and things. And it's such an unsettling atmosphere that you really feel it as the audience. You may not see anything, but you really feel their dread when they start feeling it. And then when one of them goes missing, I would say probably that's one of the scariest points of the movie. One of them goes missing and they can't find him again for like another 2 nights. And for the next 2 nights, they start to hear him screaming in the woods at nighttime. And that's such a simple effect, because obviously they would have just, asked them to go out into the woods at nighttime and start shouting from a distance. But when you're watching the movie, that feels terrifying. That it feels genuinely so immersive, and you feel that dread that the characters feel, and it's actually done very, very well. I commend the movie for that a lot. But yeah, that's about all I have to say for the Blair Witch. I think it's done very well, and I think that the promotionals for the movie as well were done very well, because I believe people actually genuinely believed that it was real, and that 3 kids had went missing up there in the woods making a documentary, because they had, for the promotionals, they had missing posters of the kids and things. So when people seen the movie, they were absolutely terrified. And I really love that about the movie. That's a really cool thing to add. It is one of the first horror movies I watched as a kid, and I absolutely loved it. It does horror very well, I think, and it definitely helps that it shows everything from the kid's point of view, so it makes it feel bigger, larger than life, and scarier. It definitely helps also create that sense of helplessness as well. And it shows Pennywise perfectly. It's really good. Absolutely love Bill Skarsgård's performance. And again, it creates that tension of like the small town, as I said, with It Chapter 2 and Scary Stories. It helps create that tension because it's like a small town with like a ancient evil in it and things. And it's all told from the kid's point of view, like Scary Stories, which makes it a lot more grounded and creepy. But yeah, that's about all I have to say, to be honest. Good movie. Next up is The Thing, arguably one of John Carpenter's most famous movies. I absolutely love The Thing. It's definitely one of the best horror movies of all time, in my opinion. It's a 1980s movie, but yet its practical effects still hold up to this day, absolutely. It's unquestioned that the practical effects in that movie are just better than what you see in a lot of movies today, to be honest. I think anyone who's seen the movie will definitely agree with that. The practical effects still hold up very well to this day. The story in and of itself is probably one of the best whodunits out there. It's about like an alien that can kind of transform into other people, and basically no one knows who's an alien and who isn't an alien. The movie, it really leans into the characters getting more and more paranoid about who is and isn't an alien as they're trying to figure that out and keep track of everyone who's touched it, things like that. It's genuinely an amazing story, especially if you're watching it for the first time, because you won't even know who's the alien and who isn't, so you'll just be as confused as they are, which will definitely add to the immersion of the story. Whereas even on second watch throughs, it's still amazing because you start to notice little details put in that you didn't notice before, and it's the same on the third watch through as well. But on the first watch through, it's probably, in my opinion, the best watch through, of course, because you are just as confused as the characters are, trying to figure everything out, and I absolutely love that about the movie. The acting all around is just phenomenal. It's definitely it was the one I tied with It Chapter 2. I absolutely love that acting in the movie. Kurt Russell does an amazing job in the movie as well, of course. The whole cast does an amazing job, to be honest. Yeah, I definitely think the acting in the movie as well still holds up. Everything about the movie is just amazing and phenomenal. It's definitely one of the best horror movies of all time, so definitely go check it out. And last but not least, I cannot do a horror movie list. I cannot talk about movies to watch at Halloween without mentioning the one movie, the king of Halloween movies, the best Halloween movie out there in my opinion, and that's Trick or Treat. I adore this movie so much. I could watch it any time of the year, but when you watch it during Halloween, it definitely has that feeling to it. It has that cozy but spooky feeling to it. It's genuinely an amazing horror movie. It doesn't take itself too seriously, so there are jokes here and there. The movie does feel a bit lighter than other horror movies that you might expect, but it's still just as good. I absolutely love it. It's got amazing storytelling, which almost kind of seems very similar to Pulp Fiction, where it's like a bunch of different stories that all intertwine with one another throughout the movie, and I absolutely love that. It's so well done that it genuinely couldn't be much better. The music and cinematography are just on point. I don't think they could be much better, to be honest. They definitely convey the feelings that they are needed to convey at that time. The lighting is probably one of my favorite aspects of the movie. It always feels kind of dark but inviting at the same time. It's not dark like a Conjuring movie where there might be something standing in the corner of the room and you can't see it. But it's more like a dark but inviting, I guess. I don't know how else to describe it. It feels spooky. It feels spooky. It kind of makes it feel like almost as if you want to be there, you know? I don't know how else to describe it. You just need to go and watch it for yourself. The movie as well uses almost exclusively practical effects, which I'm a massive fan of, as you can probably tell when I was banging on about The Thing. Yeah, the practical effects in Trick or Treat are just amazing. I absolutely love them. They're done very, very well. And yeah, the whole movie in and of itself is just a treat to watch, pardon the pun. Yeah, I don't think there's a better Halloween movie to watch. If you're going to watch Trick or Treat, your best time to watch it is probably on Halloween itself. It is the movie of Halloween. It's about, all the characters. They're doing different things for Halloween. Some of them are celebrating. Some of them are maybe serial killers. Some of them are playing pranks on people at school. And it's all very, very good. It wraps up nicely. Every story intertwines in such a good way. I absolutely love the movie to bits. It's my favorite. It's probably my favorite Halloween movie of all time. And it probably even makes the top 10 movies of all time, in my opinion. It's genuinely an amazing movie. I absolutely love it. I wholeheartedly recommend that you watch this movie. But yeah, that about wraps it up for my list of top 10 movies to watch at Halloween. Please let me know if there's any movies that you disagree with, or any movies that you would have put on the list instead. Yeah, let me know what your favourite Halloween movie is. I'd love to know. I promise I'll get that Hannibal review out as well as soon as possible. It's just taking a little longer, as I said. But yeah, please subscribe if you'd like to see more of this content. I absolutely love spooky movies and TV shows and games and things like that, so I'll probably try and upload more things to do with that kind of thing. If you'd like to see more content, please subscribe and click the notification bell. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.